Hey everybody, you're listening to the Hisessions Hawaii podcast where we talk about everything local and beyond. I'm John Yamasato, your host, and joining me today is Kayoshi Mibukuro.
How's it?
So Devon has a sinus infection and he can't talk right now.
Yeah, he can't talk until tomorrow.
Oh, I see.
That's what he said.
Okay, alright. So
Devon, makes sense you come here, right?
Get well soon.
Yeah, get well tomorrow.
Yeah.
In place of him, we have a guitar.
Yeah. So we'll see how the show goes without him. Okay, before we begin, let me remind our listeners of all the ways they can stay in touch with the show. There is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Hisessions. You can go to SoundCloud, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts to listen to the podcast, and you can always email us at hisessions@yahoo.com. If you'd like to help the show get more music on the channel, go to patreon.com and donate. There you get more involved with the show, help determine who and what is filmed, and that's patreon.com. And we don't have new patrons, but we had a couple of patrons up their donation.
Wow.
So instead of like $1, they went to $10 or...
Oh, thank you so much. That really does help.
Yeah. And hopefully it goes to show that you do get quality content if you do visit the Patreon site. And I was watching a YouTube video with the CEO of Patreon, this guy Jack Conti, I think. And they have all these new things that's coming to Patreon. So one of the things that they're going to start doing is you don't have to do a subscription. You can do a one-time donation type button.
Interesting.
And stuff like that. Because we've had people go like, we want to donate to the channel, but we don't want to be always every month kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll be rolling that out shortly.
And you know, your donation really does count. It just doesn't buy us food or anything like that. It goes into the recording of our studio sessions.
That donation is saving the channel right now.
Yeah.
Like what we're getting out of the Patreon. So without it,
thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you to Kupu Kupu Landscaping, Landscape Architects. Call Kevin Yokomura, 808-722-8685 for a free estimate if you have landscaping needs. And you can go to kupukupulandscaping.com. Thank you to Fort Ruger Market. I had the pork santis today, which is nice because I've been in LA for the past week, so it's been all burgers and fries and potatoes and stuff like that. So they have something like with rice. It's really good.
How was the uala poke?
Delicious.
Yeah. And you can find Devon at Kumu 94.7 in the mornings and Kyle at highlifeclothing.com. And now to our special guest this week is Mr. Brad Watanabe. Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Brad is 1/6, 1/7. How many are you guys strong now?
There's 5 of us.
1/5 of the band, The Green, and plays bass with like everybody around town. He's multi-talented. We play ukulele too quite a bit. I see you.
A little bit, yeah.
So multi-talented artist, super nice guy. I've gotten to know you a little bit, just kind of hanging out backstage at concerts and stuff like that. And so I was like, hey, can you come in and do a podcast? And you're like, yeah. So I kind of want to talk to you about The Green, how you guys are doing. But let's start with just how you got into music in general. Like, were you a music kid?
I was. So the story my parents tell me is we're out to dinner somewhere in Waikiki, and there was this lady that would come around strolling, playing ukulele, singing songs at the table, and I guess I was just very interested, and I guess I asked asked for lessons after that, and so they signed me up at Roy Sakuma, and I've been playing music ever since.
A lot of people go through Roy Sakuma.
And you became a super keiki at one point too.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of like stage performances around the island and stuff.
Yeah, I got to play at parties and all kinds of events, and one time got to go to Japan with Ka'au Crater Boys, and that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I took at Roy Sakuma.
Yeah.
One day, this is after this is after Valley Style.
Okay.
And I'd taken my lesson, and they're like, we have to move to the smaller room because Troy and Ernie are going to practice for their third album. They're practicing. I saw Ernie Cruz walk by. I'm like, oh. I was like starstruck.
Oh, I bet.
You know?
Well, how was it when you met him?
Was great because, they say like don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
But I was happy I met Ernie. He's like the nicest dude ever,
Yeah, I got to talk to him. I got to talk to him once too, just meeting him at a party. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Super down to earth,
Super down to earth. Just one of the chillest, like, all he wanted to do is play music and eat and drink kava. Right? Like, as long as you have those 3 elements in, he doesn't care. Like he's good, you know, like a simple man.
So Brad, did you grow up listening to like Kyle Creator Boys and stuff too?
Definitely.
It's funny the generation span of their music, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I always would watch them, and back then when I was a little kid and starting out playing music, they would always have shows at Sea Life Park. Like on the weekends.
Yes. And they would have big artists, right?
Yeah, and like, I remember watching like Peter Moon Band and, Ka'au and Pandanus Club. Those were like my favorites. And,
oh, wow.
And the zoo would always have concerts.
Yeah, show in town.
Yeah. So how did you get into your parents taking you and stuff to all these Hawaiian kind of music things? Were they always into that type of music too, or did you get introduced somewhere else?
I think so. I think we would listen to that kind of stuff on the radio. They were always very supportive of me learning music, and every time I wanted to learn like a new instrument or something, they would get me lessons, and they were always just really good about that and nurturing my musical interests, I guess.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's nice parents.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were like that too, so I can't come.
I wanted drums, but there's no way in hell they're gonna buy me drums. So that's why I'm not a drummer.
It takes a special parent to allow drums.
Not anymore, because you can plug it in and just put a headset on.
That's true. Yeah.
Back then, it would take a special parent, like a deaf parents, maybe.
Yeah. I remember there was this guy that lived. So where my house was, the next door was a rental unit, and so like people would come and go, renting the house or whatever. And then one time there was a guy who played the drums. And he would rock. He was a 80s rock drummer.
Oh, the whole neighborhood heard him then.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood heard him. I didn't mind. I'm sure my parents didn't care for it. Okay, so you grew up in playing music and whatnot.
In Kailua, right?
Yep, in Kailua.
So, Castlegrad or?
I went to Punahou actually.
Punahou?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Come over the hill.
Yeah.
Every day.
Hey, you know what? I have this Punahou thing to ask you.
Oh.
I was just talking about this with my wife and my sister-in-law last night. What is the tradition with the kids in Punahou not wearing footwear and going barefoot everywhere? Because that's the only school I know of that does that.
Oh.
I didn't even know. What is that? I didn't even know that that's a thing.
They do, right?
I don't know. I don't remember that now.
What are you talking about?
I was at Kahalama Theaters a couple weeks ago.
Yeah?
And I seen this bunch of high school kids walking without slippers and without shoes. Their feet was dirty like that. It's barefoot in Kahalama. And I was like, oh, I wonder where these kids are from. And of course they have the logo on their shirt,
dude,
right?
Just because you saw 3 kids at Kahala Mall doesn't mean the whole school goes barefoot.
So then I talked to some parents and some people from before. And I used to know this when I was in high school, because we used to go to the carnival, and they'll be running around barefoot in the grass, and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, you never had classmates that went barefoot to school and stuff like that?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. That's
such a bizarre generalization.
Well, I don't know. Is there another school that does that? I don't know.
Well, I think the barefoot thing is kind of a beachy hippie thing, right? So it's just a matter of like...
I don't know. I thought there was some kind of tradition or something. You never saw that, though.
Not that I remember.
You wore shoes.
I love shoes.
Hey, wait, so jump around a little bit. Have you guys done a lot of project grads?
We have, yep, and proms and yep.
Really? So my experience, one year we did 6 project grads in like one weekend. Ooh. It was insane. Like just not sleeping and stuff like that.
This is pure heart.
Pure heart, yeah. But you would think I remember we did Campbell, McKinley, Punahou. I'm trying to think of some of the other schools that we did. But you think like all the schools, like who would be the rowdiest? It was Punahou.
Really?
Dude, it was like those kids had been locked in a cell for the last month. And now they just let them free. And they were like,
where was the project grad at?
It was at Hard Rock Cafe.
They had shoes on then.
They had shoes on. Yeah, they had shoes on.
Okay.
But it was nuts. Like every other school kind of sat and they watched, and kind of stuff. And then they would do like, because, you can either watch or you can go do other stuff, right? So you'd have some kids. This one, everyone was like dancing and standing on the tables, and it was pandemonium at the Punahou Project Grad. But what about you guys?
Did you rage in Punahou?
I kind of
Yeah.
like at my time there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too much. But yeah, I kind of remember the project grads we did for them were, on the more energetic side. And yeah, I feel like the project grads are always hard for us because they're at like 1, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
They're like, half awake. But the kids are like so energetic, and they're always...
You guys are a dance band, though. See, we're like a sit down, like watch Jake play the ukulele band. So it was weird when people got up and like, they did not want us to play slow music. Like they wanted upbeat stuff, which we could do, but that wasn't my expectation going into it. That's what it became.
It's hard to skank to pure heart music,
right? So so you've done a bunch of schools and stuff, but it's always fun, right?
It's always fun. Yeah, it's always nice. Doing those kinds of events and playing for the youth, I think, is always a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you go through high school. Did you play in any other bands in high school?
Yeah, just like jam bands with my friends and stuff. I don't know if you know like Alex Kawakami, but he was my classmate, and we were in a band back in high school.
What was the band called?
It was called Pa'ani.
So Hawaiian music?
Hawaiian local, yep.
By the time you hear this, I will have played with Alex. We're playing. He's joining me at the Prince on Friday.
Oh,
we just had Alex on a couple months ago.
Yeah, because he has a new clothing line.
Yeah.
Oh, so you played at Alex. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and then you moved to Ukla the Mock. Were you always bass?
Yeah, kind of. That was always like the instrument I think that I wanted to play.
How did you get into playing bass?
I don't know. I think I just always found it interesting to me. I do remember like those Sea Life Park things that I was saying. I remember watching Peter Moon and Martin Pahinui was the bass player singer, and I just always loved like watching him play and hearing him.
Martin was great.
Yeah, so I think that was from what I remember, maybe like the thing that made me interested in playing bass.
I see.
So out of all the instruments you know how to play, is bass your favorite?
It usually is. I think it depends on the kind of music, but yeah, I do love playing bass.
I always tell people you should play the bass. The bass, because you feel the rhythm, because it's a rhythm instrument.
Well, you got to be good with
you don't have to be good. I mean,
the beat,
well, you have to have rhythm. Yeah, you have to be on beat. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. But you don't have to be complicated. I mean, bass can get complicated, but you don't have to be. Well, the one thing though that you have to be is you have to know the song, because you can't miss notes. Like a guitarist can like stop playing and jump back in, and kind of. You can't do that with the bass, because once the bass goes out, people will notice that, Yeah. So it is.
It's the obvious, like when you make a mistake, people know.
Yeah.
Why did Pure Heart not have a bass?
Ooh.
Oh, because we had a bass player from Kauai for a little while, but then he moved back to Kauai. So then we just never found anybody who fit. And then next thing you know, like things are happening already, so it just was working, so
But I know me and you had this conversation recently. It did create your sound though, because it didn't have that bass.
Well, I remember Lena girl, so her husband Sam. Yeah. We played one time at some gig, and then he's like, he sat us down. He's like, "Don't get a bass player, because what John's doing with the bass line on the guitar is like that's kind of unique, So I remember him telling us that. I was kind of like, well, okay, I guess we can.
Even in the latest recording, you were noticing that the sound was different because of the bass.
Well,
right?
No, I was saying, on our first album, I had this thing, I called it Tubby. It's just like $300 bass. Like the first Pure Heart album, that bass is like just a bass that was in my house that I don't even know how I got it. And it's just like, bleh, bleh, bleh. Like it didn't even have tone, So now when we play with the bass, we have nice basses and it sounds really full and nice, but then I'm like, kind of doesn't sound like the Pure Heart album we have, because it doesn't have that stupid cheapy bass sound, You
gotta bring back Tubby then.
So I'm like, I think I gotta bring back Tubby, because Tubby's what it sounds like. That's what people like to hear. Yeah, that's what I meant by that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But anyway, what do we? how did we get on this? Oh yeah. So that's why we just never ran into. And then the other thing was I was trying to find a bass player that could sing, because I was the only singer, right? And I'm like, if we're gonna get another person in a band, like,
Harmonize.
we can't have everybody not singing and then just me singing, Yeah, then we could have harmony and stuff like that, but we never found anybody, and then things just started happening. So that's circumstantial.
Interesting. Okay.
But the bass, to play the bass, it's a lot of fun, right?
It is.
It's such a fun instrument. I mean, the only thing about the bass, and I think why more people don't play the bass, is you're an accompanist. So it's like, you can't just like go in front of a crowd and be like, all right, I'm going to do this bass solo for you all for 4 minutes. Like, you got to be playing with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Usually.
Mm-hmm. Well, Flea could pull it off.
Yeah. Flea could probably pull off something, or Nathan Alveal or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't want to play it because it's like, well, now I got to find somebody to play with, and I can't. And then also, a lot of people that play music want to be the focus of attention. That's why they're playing music.
Yeah.
And the bass player, you're never the focus, but you're just always standing in the back doing your own
Does
thing.
it give you room for interpretation on some of the songs, though? Like, when you're playing with the green, does it just give you room to add little things in there?
Certain songs, yeah. I think a lot of our music and, like, the style of reggae it's very, you want that repetitive bass line that's not doing too much, but doing just enough, but that people can, like, move to. So I don't know. I never feel like my job with them is to play something flashy or anything like that. It's more just, I want to be that thing that makes people like move and dance and, that steadiness, I guess. But
yeah, you just want to lock in with the drummer. And
so after Alex guys and your band, you guys did brown bags and stuff, or was brown bags like way like old for you guys already?
I don't think we ever did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went into where from there? You just jumped into the green? Or?
No, so I
Ukla.
Ukla, yep. Yeah, I started playing with Ukla, and I really lucked out. I was working at Dan's Guitars back then.
Okay.
Dan's,
while I was in high school, and I met.
Shout out to Dan's Guitars. They're awesome over there.
And I met the bass player, some of the members, and just became close to them. And it was actually funny. The bass player came in, Ryan, with his amp, and his amp was broken. And they were playing that night, I think at Jaren's in Kailua.
Oh, yeah.
And it was always 21 and over, but I would always see their sign on the window, and I could never go because I was too young. So I was like, oh, what if I like bring my bass amp for you to use at your show? I was like, do you think I could come in? And he's like, oh yeah, like whatever. And I was like so happy that I could, finally do that. So I started doing that for all their gigs around town, and I just became close to them.
So you can get into the show then.
Yeah.
Because how old were you at that time?
I think I must have been 17, 18
Wow.
maybe. And then and I just lucked out. They were recording their second album, and I got brought in to play keys. And I had never played keys, like reggae keys or anything like that before. And I was playing like classical piano at that time. And so I remember they're like, okay, just go like this with the chords. We're like, chunk, chunk, chunk. And so I did that, and and just pretty much went through the whole album like that.
So from classical to reggae.
Yeah.
Is it easier then, I'll assume?
It was easier. It was way more just like rhythmic stuff, I think, that I was doing. And it was really cool. I loved it. And then, that was like kind of the first professional, I guess, band that I got to be in, and it was great. They would do little tours on the West Coast, so I got to do that, and that was kind of my foot in the door. That was like 2004, 2005.
Oh, so this is still in the days of like when traveling was a hassle.
Yeah.
I always tell people, the younger generation, I'm like, you guys got it easy on the traveling because you got
Equipment-wise?
Huh?
Equipment-wise.
Well, it's more like
Maps.
Oh.
You have an iPhone, you have an iPad, so when you get on the plane, like flying back, I just watched Survivor.
Yeah.
I watched 5 episodes of Survivor. They're an hour each, right? And then I'm there.
Yeah.
But in 2004, you're just watching whatever's the movie of the thing on the plane, right?
Yeah. And it's all censored out.
And then, either that or you read a book.
Yeah.
So I just found it immensely boring to travel back in 2003 and before. And
I can't even imagine those days now.
Yeah.
that's crazy, right?
You can imagine going home right now and no computer, no internet, and 4 channels on television.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid just flipping on MTV and watching the same videos over and over
Yeah,
all day
yeah.
long, and that'll be it.
Right.
Well, I mean, Beavis and Butthead is the whole. That's what you would do. You would just turn on music videos and just like, oh, look at that chick.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. You just talk about what's on the TV or whatever, right?
It's true.
So.
Yeah, different times now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the tour manager for Ookla would have to like print out like I think it was called MapQuest.
Yeah,
I'd have to print out stuff so we know where we're going. And if you take a wrong turn, you're lost. You literally have to pull over and ask somebody for help.
Yep.
It was like crazy.
And like, I don't know if this is a thing nowadays, but musicians and like iPads in front of them is something that you would never ever think of being the future, right? I mean, you gotta remember shit. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some had their books. They would have these binders of stuff, and then they would use that, like you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the iPad is so much smaller and more. Although again, I will talk. I shouldn't. I can swear, but I won't. I'll talk smack again. Christopher Cross. Watched this iPad the entire concert that I went to at the Blue Note. I was not happy about that.
What was he doing on his iPad?
I don't know what he was doing on his
he watching
iPad. That's
a movie?
the whole point.
I mean, he doesn't need to remember any. He remembers
That's
probably
what I
every
said.
single song, right? Already.
You don't know the words to Sailing? You've been singing it for 40 years. But I literally sit in the front row, and he's just staring at this iPad the entire show. You know? Imagine if the Green came out, and they're just standing there and looking at their iPad and singing.
That's not. Yeah, I get it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But so from Ookla, then you went into
The Green.
one of the biggest bands to come out of Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
God, such
Yeah.
a huge band to be involved with. How did you get involved with that band?
Well, we were all friends and just from being in the music scene, and I think we all kind of played. Two of the guys were in Next Generation before the Green, and
yeah,
so
that's right.
I think most of us actually ended up being backing musicians for Next G at some point.
What is Next Generation?
So that was Caleb, right?
Yep, Caleb and JP were in Next Generation. That was, I think, their uncle, Uncle Danny, kind of produced and
Yeah.
and
They had a short run in 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah. But they were young back then.
yeah.
So
They were
there's like
little kids.
Like Manal Company.
Yeah. You know what?
2.0 with
because
with your
Manal
kids?
Company
Yeah.
was still playing at that time with Weldon.
Oh.
Because
Okay.
Weldon like guest sang on their album.
Oh.
So that's how long ago it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're all playing music, and I think the four of them decided to start a new project, and so at that time, me and the drummer at that time, Leslie, were asked to help produce and do a lot of the studio work for the first album, and then when that got released and started playing gigs, we were playing, and it just it was different from Ookla because I think we were all the same age. We were all hungry to travel and, play music everywhere we could. And so, after that kind of started taking off, I decided to
Go with
join.
them full time.
Yeah. And
Now let me ask this question, because what year was this, roughly?
I think the first Green album came out 2009. So this is probably around then, 2009, 2010.
Yeah. See, you guys had a weird, and I was talking to JP about this a long time ago. You had a really weird timing and experience on the financial side, because that is right when
CDs changed.
CDs started not, people stopped buying CDs. They're going into streaming, but streaming is not streaming yet. It's like Apple Music. And then, gigs are different now because here there's not all the concerts, like all the big radio stations stopped doing their big concerts and stuff. And so now you're touring on the mainland. And I was completely confused as to how this all works because, you're doing these big festivals in like California, and then you come back home and home's different. Like you don't have that same, and then the whole scene changed too, because once the iPhone, I don't know.
Well, it was in between, right? Like when the CD kind of ended, it was LimeWire and
Right.
all that kind of download streaming MP3 kind of thing. There was a gap between the iPhone and music. like iTunes and stuff, right? So
Even now, I mean, it's still not settled now. I mean, people have found a way to survive, and you folks obviously are doing well. But yeah, I mean, it was a really weird time at that time. And I know that in the beginning it was like you guys were blowing up, but it was like still kind of struggling, right? Like
definitely, yeah. I mean, I think the days of being able to like buy a house or something from your CD sales or album sales, yeah, like that was done by the time we started putting music out, and yeah, it was different. I remember when we got our first management, they were like, you guys can't go home and play every weekend because you're never going to be able to do a big concert there. Like people can just go see you the next week,
Right.
Yeah. It's like you got to create some kind of...
You can't be a bar house band.
Yeah.
To make a living.
Not if you want to like do bigger shows, And I think for me that was big because I was so used to being in bands that play every weekend. It's like, okay, we'll play in Kailua this week, and then next week we'll go play town, and then next weekend we'll do something else. And you can definitely survive that way. But I think with the Green and with the advice of our management, it was like they changed the way we did our shows here and just operated our business, and it was really eye-opening for us.
Yeah. And that first Green album was amazing. I remember listening to it for the first time. I was in Booty Groove, and BJ came in and goes, listen to these guys. And he pressed play on it. I was like, listen, I was like, what is this? I mean, like, it was all original music, right? And it was just, it sounded like the professionalism of a mainland.
Well, that's funny you say that because, so the first like intro to music, I rarely listen to the radio anymore, but I hit FM 100, and then She Was the Best came on. I'm driving. I remember this in my head because I was driving home from Kahala Mall, whatever. I'm going down Kalaniana Highway and listen to this song. I'm like, this is what Hawaii bands need to sound like. This is like real reggae sound, In my head, I'm thinking this, and then after they're like, oh, that was the Green, and I'm like, oh damn, that is a Hawaii band. Like these guys are freaking good, Like,
I mean, right out the gate, original music, that's amazing, Like, how long did it take for you guys to rehearse and write all this original material before you guys recorded it?
That first album was interesting because I think the four guys were, they just had songs at that point written, and so they would come with their songs or ideas, and Leslie and I would put music to it, produce it, how we thought it would be cool. But it was cool because most of that album we were just in a bedroom, and just like there was no expectations, there was no like no bar that we were trying to like reach or anything. We were just making music for fun. Like I remember coming up with like really like random keyboard stuff, and and them going like, oh, that's cool, and let's use it. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And it was no like, oh, people are going to think that's weird, or, it's too outside of the box.
Yeah.
So it's basically you guys just having fun at that point.
Yeah.
Just experimenting.
It was so chill, and it was really great. And then the second album still had a little bit of that, like She Was the Best, and those kinds of things. At that point, we were recording a lot at my place. I had kind of started to build a studio and do that kind of stuff, and so we did a lot of that album there, and but yeah, it was still having fun and jamming with your friends kind of.
So on the recordings, you played keys and bass,
and
then in live in concert, you strictly played bass.
Yeah, there was a period where before we started using tracks and that kind of stuff that I was playing bass and keyboards.
Okay.
But yeah, now that we're using tracks, I'm back to bass.
What kind of bass do you have? What do you play?
I have this like custom 5-string bass that I've been really liking. Yeah.
So you have the low, low B or something?
Yep, the low B.
Low B. So I guess it just gives you another octave to work with.
Yeah, it's a little.
I've never played a 5-string bass. I mean, I've always just been too intimidated to do it. Did you start off on 4 and then go to the 5?
Yeah, same. I was like, oh man, I don't ever want to play a 5-string. It's like too much. I was like, I can make do on a 4. And then we just started. It was like if you're in a certain key, sometimes you just need like a little bit lower,
like
a lower note. Yeah, you need that low D or like low B even. And I was like,
So how is the 5-string tuned?
So the normal tuning for a 4-string bass is E, wait, E A
D
G, right?
Yeah.
And then so the you get a lower string from the E, which is a B.
On
So
the
if you
bottom,
play the open top,
the bottom string.
yeah, top,
the D.
well,
Yep.
yeah, the lowest string, lowest
Okay.
pitch string. Yeah.
That's basically a guitar without the bottom, the sixth string, right? Tuning.
Oh yeah, but the guitar is A. The fifth string is A.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
So almost, you're close.
All I remember is elephants and donkeys got
Oh.
big ears.
You know what's sad is like I've been doing all these slack key tunings, but I don't
Yeah.
remember the thing, and so I'm always up there going, oh my god, like I'm just like going back and forth through the thing. But anyway, okay, sorry, back to you. Okay, so you guys start playing what, like parties and stuff, and then or was the first thing to record the album because they had already kind of had some momentum with the Next Generation stuff.
Yeah, I kind of remember there being a little overlap. Like we had recorded the album and it came out, but Next G was still kind of playing and not really. So there was a little period of time like that, and then I think the Greens started getting their own gigs. Love I came out and was doing well on the radio. That was our first like radio song, and yeah, things just kind of picked up a little bit. We went on our first West Coast tour. At that time, we were playing with Anuhea a lot. As her backing band too, and so we did a West Coast tour with her, and yeah, it was really.
Well, what is up with that West Coast scene? Like that came out of nowhere to me, but I'm sure it was growing. But now there's this huge Southern Cal reggae scene out there.
Yeah.
Was this already happening when you guys came out, or was it?
Wasn't Big Mountain and like Sublime and all that?
Yeah. So they kind of maybe started it, but now it's just it's a thing, man. Like it's a big deal, and they really love the Polynesian like reggae stuff, and yeah. But do you know anything about like where that came from, or?
I'm not sure. I have always assumed that it was like from Sublime, and like it was their fans that continue to make that kind of reggae. Which I kind of consider like maybe Cali reggae now, or it's become its own like style of music, and it just kept growing and growing, and now it's huge. There's bands like Revolution that are from California that are just like massive, and it's great. It's spread reggae music across the whole continent up there, and it makes it fun to go play shows in California because people are into that kind of music.
Yeah. And then going back to the recording, I do know what you're saying is the first album is always the most fun because there's zero expectation, right? You don't think about anything because you're like, no one's going to buy this anyway.
Or you can just we try this and see what happens. Because we like it.
And then once, you have a certain level of success. Because I remember thinking like this, then you're like, okay, what do we think everyone will like? And we should try to do that at that point. Like that's how you're thinking.
Yeah, that's a kind of slippery slope there, right? Because you should also start progressing your music, right, to how you want it. But you gotta have the little bit of things in there for your fans, or they'll just leave, right?
And then everyone starts having more of an opinion and more because the stakes are higher. So you're like, you don't want to fail. So then everyone starts putting in their 2 cents.
So do you feel like the saturation, as the later albums came out, took away your creativity?
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah.
Were you bummed?
No, I wasn't really bummed about it, but it was just a different. It just wasn't as happy-go-lucky as it was. It's still fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still good, but yeah, it's hard to capture that innocence in that first project or whatever.
It's almost like you never get it back at some point because for whatever reason, whether it be like feedback from your friends and family or management or just even what's going on in your own head, it's like you're gonna think differently, I think, from after that first album, and I don't think it was really a bad thing too much. For me personally, the thing that changed after the first album was I started pitching songs that I wrote to the different members, and kind of co-writing a bunch of songs and coming in more as a co-writer and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And, so do you like doing the production side? Like,
I do. I love producing music, and I feel like it's a great way to be creative and, you know,
Yeah,
do that
I always
kind of stuff.
I always loved the studio more than the live.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, like Jake is a live guy. Like he loves
I would just think I would love the live
performing. I like tinkering in the studio and like making it perfect, and you know,
and then not playing live.
Nobody around. Yeah, if I could just stay in the studio, like, I would do that all day. You know, like I would like. I had my little digital recorder back, and I would stay in my room for like 8 hours at a time. My parents probably thought I was nuts. You know, just like tinkering and tinkering. You know.
And now it's Fortnite.
And now it's Fortnite. Yeah. But yeah. So, so okay. So you did production and all that stuff. And then...
but do you enjoy being in... Where's your happy place? Is it in the studio or is it on a stage?
It's both. For me, I like the change up, I think. You know, studio days can get long. You're in there just... You know, it can be like all day into the, you know, late night, and sometimes that gets tiring for me, and you know, then I want to go play music for people.
I don't know. I think if I was playing bass, I'd want to do more live stuff.
You're the front man, so
yeah, it's different when you're the
yeah,
because you're coming up with a set list and you're thinking about the audience and then what you're gonna say and how the thing is gonna go. When you like, if I'm playing like when I play with Kahiva and I'm just either playing ukulele or just standing in the back playing.
Then you enjoy it more.
Yeah, it's like
you're not the den mother.
Yeah, because before the show, I'm just like talking to people and like eating and stuff because I'm like I don't have to sing anything. You know? So right. There's a lot of different pressures on.
That's pretty much me with the green. I'm just like whatever. Then you know can go chill during the show.
But you're so chill out. So it's good to have guys like you because there's also guys who are background who like have 18 million opinions on what you should be doing, and like you're sitting there trying to like think of stuff. Because I always tell people playing the songs part is easy. You know, I can do that, but it's like, what do we do between the songs that's going to be interesting? It's different, I'm sure, on a scale of your scale, because like you know we're usually doing sit down theater shows, right? So I'm like, okay, I need to say something interesting or funny or come up with a story, but like you guys out there, you gotta get the crowd up and energetic and stuff, right? So
it's interesting you say that because with the green we do a lot of songs just back to back, like there's no space,
just keep going, right?
Yeah, we have like you know maybe 2 breaks in the set where we stop, drink water, they'll say something, and then boom, we're going again. Playing with like Paula and Kimie, they're such good storytellers and talkers, and they're funny. So it's like between each song, there's like you know a good few minutes, and they'll tell a story, and it's just such a different. It's probably more like what you're talking about, you know.
And that so for me, like I'm always like, okay, I just need a good story between the first and the second song, and then. Or you know maybe we do 2 songs and then I gotta talk. After that, like I kind of wing it. But I always try to come up with something interesting to say, to just like get everybody comfortable.
Yeah, I remember you experimenting like with ping pong balls and any kind of.
Oh stuff. Yeah. I'll run material on my wife. I'm like, do you think this is funny? And I'll tell like what I'm thinking, and she'll be like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, all right, I won't say that.
What is your most memorable experience traveling the entire country and the globe with the green?
I don't know. I mean, I think every time, like the first time you go to a new place, a new country or something is really exciting. First time going to Tahiti or to Aotearoa, that was really exciting. Gosh, I can't think of like one specific moment.
Where have you guys gone? I know you guys gone. Were you in Brazil, right?
No, we haven't been there.
Okay, that's
yet.
Mike. Okay. But you've gone up and down the West Coast, mainland U.S.
We've done most states at this point.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think.
Was there ever a venue that you just stepped on the stage and went, holy shit, look at all these people?
Actually, it was here. It was opening for Bruno Mars at the stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And his stage was so gigantic. I remember walking upstairs to get to the platform, and you literally have to walk up to another platform because his stage rises, or his things rise from the bottom. And so like the sound man and all the techs are like on that first level, so you're looking at like this little peephole that you like
That
see
must
them
have been an amazing experience.
It was I don't know how I wasn't like just out of my mind and like nervous for that show, but yeah, it was
because it was kind of like a homecoming for you guys too at the same time, right?
Definitely.
Not only for him, but you guys, you know.
Well, the good thing about that gig, I think, from what I know, is that, I mean, you know, a lot of times the opening act comes out and it's just like people are kind of, you know, just waiting, but everyone was into it, man. You know, so it was like, oh man, this is the Green, and everyone was great. And then Bruno Mars comes out, so it was overall a good night. And yeah,
I wish I saw it because I know that stage will never be there again.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't know when we'll ever see a concert of that magnitude on the island ever again. You know, in a long time. You know.
Well, now that stadium's not gonna be there anymore too, and yeah, that's true.
And then the people that came because of that stage that stayed there after his concert, from the Eagles to
Guns N' Roses. I missed that Guns N' Roses
so
concert.
much people. I was actually worried the stadium might just fall apart. People got a little rust, you know, coming off of it. But what an amazing time. You know?
That's true.
Yeah. So what do you guys focus now that you? I mean, man, it's been 15 years now. That's the Green. That's the Green.
Wow.
They're newer, but they're not new, right? So what is the focus on now? Like, what are you guys trying to do?
How many albums have you had?
I want to say like maybe 4.
It kind of depends. You guys do the singles a lot too, right?
Singles, yeah. That's kind of. It seems like singles and maybe short EPs do well nowadays. People are just doing.
That's what I keep telling you, John. John's waiting for an album release. I'm like, just release songs.
I feel like people love singles, and it seems like, you know, looking at the way a lot of artists and bands do things now, they, you know, consistently put out singles, and we haven't really done that too much. I think just a lot of the guys have families now too, and kids, so that's been a big focus and something that's changed a lot too. We don't do too many long tours, which is, it's nice, you know. It's nice being here. We just got back from like a 5-week winter tour, and it was so cold. And
where did you go?
We started in California, went pretty much across to the East Coast.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was cold.
Yeah.
Is it a lot of busing?
Yeah, you pretty much live on that bus.
Do you guys have your own green bus, like just decked out and stuff?
No, it's
like a party mobile just traveling across the country.
No, we just rent a bus every time we go on tour, and yeah, so it's always different. There's a different driver, and yeah, it's interesting. Every tour is a little different, but
now, okay, I'm curious about this because you guys have been a band for so long. Do you hang out on the bus? And because I've been touring with Herb Otto Jr. for 20 years, I see him at the airport. We go to our hotel, and I go, "I'll see you tomorrow," and then we just go do our own thing. Like we don't hang out anymore.
Yeah, like, it's not like I can picture you and Herb raging at a bar or something after a gig, you know.
But before, you know, maybe I'd go to his room and we'd work on music or whatever. But now it's just like, all right, I'll see you later.
Yeah,
and then that's it. So are you guys like still like?
It gets more and more like that. I think the bus on the bus, because, you know, it is a smaller quarters, you do end up hanging out more, and you know, it's good because we can get some business done too. We'll have little meetings, you know, throughout the tour, and just be able to communicate like that. As far as going out and hanging out, not too much. I think most of the guys golf, so you know, if we're somewhere warm, they'll go play golf, and or we'll go out to eat sometimes. I usually won't go out with them to eat since I don't eat meat, and I'll usually, you know, get my own food, or Uber Eats now is something like the past few tours that we haven't had in the past. So now it's like so easy to just get whatever you want, you know, delivered to you.
That's a good idea. You see, like I said, the young kids don't understand. And there's like, you can just Uber anywhere.
I remember talking to Jake, and I was like, when you're on tour, you have your own bus? He goes, yeah. I go, and what, you guys just go around like raging? He goes, we're not a rock band. I go, oh, but do you party on the bus? Because I want to come, you know, and check it out. He goes, I read a book and sleep. I don't want to come with you guys on a tour. But I guess it becomes a grind after a while, right? In the beginning, it's super fun and cool, and then afterwards, it is what it is. It's a bus ride to the next gig, right?
Yeah. And I think, now that we're older and hopefully a little more mature, that, we don't really, party or anything like that anymore. And
were there days when early days were you guys nuts?
I wouldn't say nuts. I think maybe to us it was nuts, and then we would meet another band and be like, oh, we're like nowhere near this level of like, partying and raging. And I think that was a funny thing that we saw when we started touring. And
I can imagine if you're on the Cali tour, some of those Cali bands must be just insane, like their party antics.
One of the first tours we were on was with Iration. Iration brought us on first of 3. And I remember we played our set the first night. We were nervous. It was our first like tour. And then I remember that middle band. I don't know if they were like blacked out drunk or what, but one of the guys was kicking bottles off the stage into the crowd and just like being like crazy. And we were like, what's going on right now? And I'll never forget that. And then the next day, the Iration's manager had a meeting and was like, you guys can't be doing this kind of stuff. And like everybody got scolded. And
but in general, is Hawaii bands kind of known on the circuit up there as being the more mellow bands up there?
I think
not
so.
Not crazy party rock star kind of people.
I think we have that image kind of. People think of people from Hawaii as maybe a little more mellow and laid back, and I think for the most part
it fits.
Is there a notorious band from Hawaii that's known to do the opposite though?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I just think somebody like Pepper back in the day would be going crazy.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Those guys are super fun.
Yeah.
Man, those were good days. You were a little young for that, but there was Pepper and you brought Tantra Monsters, all these like ska bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember like one night I went to see, it was like was a reggae band, Burning Spliff, Dread Ashanti.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So it was Dread Ashanti, Tantra Monsters, and Sublime was the bill.
Sublime was Bradley closer. Back in the day? Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
And like, so I went to that. It was at World Cafe when it was just like a warehouse out in Evile.
Yeah, it was before it was called the Groove, right? And stuff.
Yeah, or something.
Nimitz Hall,
like
right?
you're in this building, but then you look down, you see all the parking stalls on the ground because it's just like they just put walls around the parking lot, And then I was like, oh man, Sublime. I think they went on at like 1:30 or something in the morning. It was so late already, and
How old were you?
18.
And your parents let you go to those concerts?
That was high school.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they knew where I was going, but
those are the days where they segregated the 21 and over as
yeah.
So
exactly,
the 18 guys would be served like what we call smart drinks, was non-alcoholic beverages, right? And then you'd be in a cage, like a little chain link fence cage for the underage, and the other side would be the adults.
The adults,
And then you'd watch the band, and just people would just go nuts on the other side of the cage, and you go,
gosh.
someday I'll turn 21 and be there in that cage.
Yeah. But I remember Dread Ashanti played, and then I was a big fan of theirs, so I was like, oh yeah, this is great, and then Tantra Monsters went on, and then I was like, I wasn't as big into them as I was Dread Ashanti. And in Sublime, this is when they first came out, so Waiting for My Ruka was the only song anybody knew at that time.
40 Ounces to Freedom.
Yeah, like none of the other songs had hit yet, and so I was like, man, I can't wait till 2 a.m. to see you Waiting for My Ruka, so I went home.
You missed it.
And I didn't stay for them. Yeah, and then...
I'm so disappointed in you, man.
So I always tell my kids, like, you should always go see your band when you can see them, because
you just never know.
You just never know what's going to happen. Like, I missed them. Like, I missed UB40 when they were popular because every time they were in town, I had a gig. So I couldn't go to because I'm playing somewhere and then they're playing at the Blaisdell or whatever,
I got to see Blind Melon at the Big Melee before Shannon passed away.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I got to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good singer.
Yeah, man.
He's a good singer. And I tell but it's funny because I tell my daughter that and she goes, oh, I want to see this rapper guy, whatever, at the Republic. I'm like, no. It's like, why not? I'm like, I don't want you to hang out at the Republic. Like, you're 15 years old, you know, like.
She's what a
So
hypocritical
talking out
parent you
outside my
are.
mouth. I'm like, you can go to the Blaisdell, you can go to the Shell, you can go, you know, these are places where, you know, the security is pretty good. And I'm not saying that public security is bad or anything like that, but, you know, it's just a little bit more clubby there at the Republic, and I'm a little nervous about my 15-year-old girl.
You know, I actually look back and I had cool parents because weeknights, no matter if I wanted to go to a rock concert at the Blaisdell, my parents would take us there, me and my neighbor, and buy us tickets and take us there. So at 14, 15 years old, I was seeing Iron Maiden. I'm seeing Judas Priest. I'm seeing all these heavy rock concerts. I don't think they had any idea what went on in the NBC at that time. You know, and we're minors sitting among crazy people, right? But I mean, the fact that they let us see it,
that's why
I'm
I'd
so
say no.
privileged because not every day you get to see your band play anymore. You know?
Yeah, I know. Right. But like, I'm like, okay, who's? Because she's playing me these songs, and I'm like, I don't know who this is, right? So I go look them up on YouTube, and it's like, F word, N word, this, and then I'm like, no. I'm like, when you turn 18, you can go to any of these, all you want, you know. But
you're such a hypocrite. Don't tell me you didn't listen to Two Live Crew when you were in her age.
Yeah, but I didn't go to their concert.
If they came, you would have gone.
No, I wouldn't have gone.
Oh man, what was your first concert that you remember going to? Outside of Sea Life Park and a Hawaiian event, what was your first big concert that you went to?
I kind of remember maybe after high school going to see like Don Carlos, maybe.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if it was. Yeah, I don't know if it was at that same place off Nimitz. I think it was called like World Cafe or something like that.
Yeah, World Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
It was called. What was it called?
It was called The Groove. I think it was called
World Cafe.
Worlds, and then it was called one point Nimitz Hall. I think it was called.
Yeah,
I saw. They had everybody there from I think they had 311 there. I saw. They had all the bands back in the day because this was when Radio Free Hawaii was kind of big too. And they would bring all these bands. Golden Voice would bring all the bands.
What happened? Why can't we have stuff like that anymore? What happened? Or maybe it is happening. I'm just so out of it. I don't know. Yeah. Huh.
Those were the days of good music to me. Just
there's still good music now. There's the Green and stuff. They're good.
No, but that rock bands that come from the mainland,
well,
you don't see them coming anymore like that. You know, you're right. You know,
it's just hard. I think it's hard to make the numbers work.
Yeah,
because they gotta fly everybody in, and now like you got all these guys that like, I'll just come with my looper, and I'll do the Ed Sheeran thing, and then you only gotta pay me, right? So it's so easy to bring those kind of people down, but to get a full band,
and like then you get Christopher Cross coming and sing Sailing.
Yeah, into his iPad, singing to his iPad the whole time. Man.
Shit.
All right. Okay. So you guys got some stuff coming up. What before we ask you your last question? What would you have coming up?
Yeah. So next week on the 19th, we're playing at the MAC, in Maui, and then on the 20th, we're playing here at the Blaisdell. And yeah, we're really stoked playing with Alan Stone.
Ooh.
And then Seven Sons.
All right.
Justin.
Hey.
Yeah.
I think he's coming on next week, right?
Yeah, he's coming on to talk with us, and it'd be nice to see that guy again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this the first Green concert headlining the NBC?
It is.
It is, right?
It is. Yeah.
I would let my daughter go to that.
We should all go to that.
Yeah, we should all go to that. That's
That'd
true.
Be fun,
I'll take her to that. How's that?
Justin, hook us up or something.
No, we gotta pay for tickets so these guys can live. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, that's right, guys. We gotta pay.
Jesus, it's right here. I don't mind paying for tickets because.
Was it sold out?
I don't think it's sold out yet. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we can get
available.
All right.
Let's go, man. For real.
Yeah. Okay. 19th, you said.
The 20th here.
Well, 20th. Okay. 20th here. Okay. Yeah, if I can go, I'll go.
Yeah.
I like you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. But our last question is, if you were stranded on a desert island for all of eternity, and you could only bring 3 albums with you to listen to till the end of time, what would those 3 albums be?
That's tough. I think maybe Hawaiian Style Band.
The first one?
That's the red.
Red album.
Treasures.
Yep.
Yep.
That's a good album.
That was one of my favorite albums.
That's a really
growing up.
groundbreaking album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Maybe Napalapalai.
Ooh, which one though? You
Uh,
know what's funny? Nowadays, I only know the albums by
cover.
the cover, what the cover looks like. The one with the heads or faces like that.
Is
And
it
there's-
the kind of blue one?
Yeah, yeah,
with,
yeah.
Makani Olu Olu. And
Yeah. Look at that.
that.
Yeah, that's a good album.
Then maybe, I feel like I'd want a reggae album. Maybe like Bob Marley Uprising.
Hey, that was my pick.
No way.
Yeah,
All right,
that
that was
was
one of
your
my
pick.
picks. Okay.
You know, Vanishing Treasures.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work for Hawaiian Style in the 90s doing art for them.
Oh.
And right at that time was when Live a Little came out. And it was originally just commissioned by the owner of Locomotion Hawaiian Style to do the Live a Little song with Wade guys to write the jingle.
Oh.
And from that one song, it turned into this album produced by Rob Burns.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the start of Vanishing Treasures. And when I heard that album, you know, aside from the Live a Little song that we all knew, my God, that was such a great album.
Right.
You know, I talk about an all-star band in the making, right?
Oh my god. Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just never went as a kid listening to that. I never realized like how many people were singing on those albums and doing all those different parts.
Yeah.
Even like, you know, having like a couple lines here, couple lines there, or a verse here, verse there. I like never realized like all
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah, so
All like the big
Wade
hitters.
and Brian, right? That's the two original guys, right?
Mhm.
They wrote the Live a Little song for Hawaiian Style, but they also wrote the He Na Na Locomotion jingle back in the day, the original He Na Na Locomotion jingle.
No,
Because I think their business was writing jingles
Jingles?
for businesses and stuff. Yeah.
that makes sense. They're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's funny was at that time I was listening to a lot of Two Live Crew and stuff. no, I wasn't, but I was into like
Rap.
hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was at my freshman, because it was my freshman year, so I was at some kind of event, and then they played Love and Honesty on the speakers. You know, while everyone's just like kind of hanging out. I'm like, oh, that's a good song. Like, I want to buy that CD or whatever. But I didn't know it was a Hawaiian album.
Oh, you thought it was just some mainline?
I thought it was a mainland album or something. Although it has Hawaiian
And it was like
speaking in it.
Roby before she was Roby.
Yeah. So then I bought that
yeah.
one, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good. And so I listened to the whole thing, you know, and it's kind of like that and my mom buying the Kyle Critter Boys Tropical Hawaiian Day cassette was my intro into Hawaiian music, you know? So,
Right.
yeah. Well, thanks so much, Brad, for coming on,
Oh,
talking story with us, and good luck to you guys. We're very proud of you.
you.
Yeah, taking the reggae to the next level, man.
Yeah, man. It's
So
awesome
cool.
to see.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
And it's good because everyone in the band is like super talented and good at what they do too. So the music really is really good. But okay, we'll be here next week with Justin.
Yeah.
You're going to talk about Seven Sons. So it ties into this whole podcast too.
Sounds good. Listen for us. We'll be screaming for you guys at the MEC.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Till next week. We'll see y'all later.
Take care.